Welcome to the WTF Show podcast from Bangkok, Thailand. Presented by Vimol Kogar. Tune in to get your dose of weekly verbal Red Bull.
Welcome one and all to the WTF Show today. We have some really special guests. The family known as the Gulati family. Bobby Gulati, Dane Gulati. Today we were unable to get Mr. Raja Gulati. They are also known as Raja's Fashions. They're probably Thailand's premier, number one, tailoring outfit. They do the best suits you can find in Thailand. Welcome to the Gulati family.
Thank you, Vimol.
Thank you for having us. Pleasure to be here.
Bobby, tell us a little bit about the history of Raja's Fashions.
Yeah, my dad, Raja, started the business in 1964. That's when it was the beginning of the Vietnam War. And there were a lot of GIs. It was started in Ubon Ratchathani, and that's where I was born, along with my other siblings. It was started 64, and at that time, there were very few tailors in Ubon. And the Vietnam War has just started, and a lot of GIs, they were quite big in size, and they had a very hard time finding good tailors. And that's when my grandfather had a nice little clothing, selling clothes and accessories and zippers and buttons at that time. And my dad was helping him then. And then a lot of them came in and asking to buy the fabrics. And then they would go to this tailor and to have the suits made or shirts made. But the tailor did not speak very good English. And that's when my dad saw the opportunity is to have that tailor work for him. So it was like one-stop shopping instead of just, getting the fabrics from us and getting it made somewhere else and pay twice. That's when Rajas was born.
Okay, your dad's obviously a little bit of a legend in the market. So how did this evolve to coming into Bangkok?
Well, at that time, we were based only for the GIs. And when the Air Force base closed down in Ubon, we moved to Udon for a few years, and that's when the bases closed in Udon. We were invited by the JSMAG, which is the Joint U.S. Military Advisory Group, which based in Bangkok invited us to come and open a store here. And then everything else is history.
And I understand you opened in a location called Nana?
We were right on the main Sukhumvit Road, and then we moved into Soi Nana. And now we've moved right underneath the BTS Nana station. So the last over 40 years, we have been in the Nana area.
And your father, his reputation precedes him. He has a rapport with a lot of the diplomats in this country, and people say he remembers names, like he remembers over 1,000 names. Is that true?
Absolutely. And that's the one thing he instilled in me. I still remember in the summer of 1984 when I graduated from college. And I asked Dad, what is expected from me? And he said, the first thing you need to do is remember everyone's names. And that's actually stuck by me. I don't have the best memory in the world, but when it comes to my clients, I make a point to remember them.
Okay, and the business, tell me a little bit about what Raja's Fashions does. Let's start from ground zero. What do you do?
Well, we are in the tailoring business. Actually, we're in the people's business. People come to us with an expectation of, like our motto, quality, value, and service. And that hasn't changed in the last 56 years. And now with the third generation, with Dane coming in, and he's following our footsteps with new technology, and that's what we do.
Dane, tell me a little bit about your college life first, please.
So I actually, born and raised in Bangkok, I graduated at the NIST, New International School of Thailand, in 2011. And from there, I left to Miami, Florida, to attend the University of Miami. I studied undergrad in international marketing and finance. And I was there from 2011 to 2015. So 4 beautiful years in Miami, Florida, before eventually moving to New York for a couple months and then eventually coming home to join the family business.
Was joining the family business the obvious thing to do?
It was not necessarily the obvious thing to do. Obviously, as a not necessarily the most mature kid at that point when you graduate college. You kind of want to have fun. You want to explore what's out there. But Dad and Grandpa were very supportive. They said, you know what, go wherever you want to go, interview everywhere you do, and if you get a good job, then you can work for a couple years, or if you can build a life from there, you can do that. Obviously, what I wanted to do was get a job, learn the basic principles of not necessarily corporate life, but the life of principle, and wake up in the morning, making your bed as I did in college, and kind of instilling that in myself before coming back home and getting all the everything that we all get in Thailand. What we're well known for is the good life, right? So I went to New York for 3 months, interviewed a couple places, and I eventually got an offer, but it was not something that really appealed to me. It was a backup offer, and I did not really think it was worth my time and energy. So I came back home for the sole reason that Grandpa has been in business for, this year will be 57 years, next in 2021. And most of his friends are retired, if not semi-retired, and he's still going strong. He goes to the store before COVID 6 days a week. That's when we're open. He would go to the park at 6 a.m. 3 times a week. He would go to the temple in the morning after that, and then he would come to the store till closing. So I thought, you know what, I need to come in. I need to kind of progress the business and kind of develop it in a certain way for the future so that he can slowly retire and take it to the next step. But little did I know, I've been in business for 5+ years now. He's still coming every day. So maybe I should have stayed abroad for a couple of years. But no, it was a great decision. I don't look back at it for sure.
So Bobby, again, I don't want to keep coming back, but your father's shadow is all over the place. Your father is not only famous in the tailoring line, he has a CSR. He has a lot of moral values and does a lot of work for the community. Tell me about that.
Yes, absolutely. He's a man with a heart of gold, a man that never had a very high education, but the values he has is fantastic, which boils down to the future generations. Yeah, basically, we are very much involved with the AmCham, American Chamber of Commerce in Thailand. We call Adopt a School program, and we have up to date done 17 new school buildings. And it was a chance to give back to our birthplace, Ubon Ratchathani. So this year we will be building our 18th school in Ubon
18
Ratchathani.
schools. 18 schools
done,
from the Gulati family.
Done about 6-7 water tanks, couple of libraries, couple of playgrounds. The other project we do is Operation Smile, Thailand. We support Operation Smile wholeheartedly because my oldest daughter is a speech therapist. So she also joins their, post-surgery programs to help kids to say basic things like I love you to their mom. Because with Operation Smile, the cleft palate's fixed. Some of these kids have never been able to speak. So that's a wonderful feeling that our family can make a difference. But the schools is our biggest thing. We have a golf tournament every year. Actually, our next tournament will be February 19th on 2021. February 18th, 2021. It'll be our 29th annual. So that's where we raise the money and we build schools. So we are very happy. We've won a lot of awards for that. But it's not about the awards. It's about helping society. And it's wonderful.
So Dane, one could argue, if I were to play devil's advocate, one could argue that tailoring is a sunset industry. I could go to Zara and get a comparative suit.
Of course.
What would you say to me if I were to say, Dane, I'm going to go to Zara and pay $80 for a comparable suit?
The thing about bespoke made is everything is made to you. We measure your waist, your length, everything from scratch, from your wrist to your biceps to your necks to the how far away your front chest is from the other. The same thing with the back lats. And some people are born with one hip lower or one shoulder lower. Some people stand with a belly. Some people stand erect. So everyone's body is different. And when you buy off the rack, they tend to fit certain areas, but not all areas. And once you get it custom made, it's like it fits like a glove. And you will never be able to buy off the rack again, unless it's something that you cannot get otherwise. But it's a whole different ball game. You get to pick everything from the lining to the button, which is very basic, the style, the fit. You want to accent it with different colors. You want to add your name inside. You want to go for a stripe on the outside. Just wherever your head wants to go, you can go with custom made. But when you buy off the rack, you're stuck with what you get.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about cost points, if I may. I mean, if I were to go tomorrow to Raja's Fashions, would I be spending $500, $1,000? What am I looking at?
So we have a large range of fabrics. So it really depends on, number one is your budget, right? It all stems to that. And what kind of suit wearer are you? The more expensive it is, the more delicate usually it is. So that our suits, I would say, start at about $300 and it can go up to $1,500 depending on the build of the of the suit as well as the fabric, the origin of the fabric.
Okay, tell me about technology, Dane. Dane, the tailoring business is about the measuring tape and fabric, and that's been around for 100 years,
right,
or more, right? And today we're looking at accessing your clients from apps. We're looking at measuring people using software. And where do you see Raja's Fashion in 20 years' time if you start changing the way you do things?
So we've already started changing. It's been 3 or 4 years. As soon as I joined the business, I spent a year and a half to learn the trade, even though I grew up in the business. But this year and a half was full on, working every day, 10 hours a day, and making sure I understood the way it works and how to measure and everything like that. So we introduced a in-store app that we developed ourselves. We hired a company to develop our state-of-the-art in-store app where you get to build your whole wardrobe on that app. It guides you through the process from fabric to styles. Once you're ready, we take a photo of you. You get a username, password. We keep all your details on there. You come in for a fitting, we take a photo of your body. When you come in for the pickup, we take a photo of the final suit on you. That way we're able to track every single detail in your order. And in the future, you can go online, log in, view your order, be like, I want that same exact thing, but in a slightly different fabric. Or be like, I want that same exact fabric, but I want a different style. And that's what we've been doing this whole time.
Sure. So, Bobby, tell me, your suits are next to perfect. You must be having an excellent relationship with the craftsmen who actually, on a daily basis, stitch these suits. Tell me a little bit about maybe the background of these people.
Well, they're hardworking labor people, and we have our own factory. So we have total control over the linings that we use, the interlinings that we use, the buttons that we use. Everything is supplied by us, especially the head cutters have been working with us over 30, 40 years. So we know them inside out, and they know us inside out.
Yeah, we treat them like a family, and we had a tailor that worked, the head cutter with us for a long, long time. He was retiring. He brought his younger brother, took him under his wing for 3-4 years. He learned the business, took over. So it's just, we're keeping it in the family like we do ourselves.
So WTF show is about youth empowerment, peer-to-peer support, right? So my first question would be, if somebody else wanted to be a bespoke tailor in Thailand, would you say that this is a good time to enter the trade? And my second question would be a little bit about this COVID era we're in the last 9 months, right? So you have lots of these kids out in the market looking for jobs. And the tailoring line is a little bit of a question mark because most people don't enter the tailor line in this generation. They actually inherit the business in one way or another. So if somebody were to ask this question, should I become a tailor? Or where do I see this in 10, 20, 30 years' time? What would you say?
So the industry, especially in Thailand, is very saturated, very, very saturated. I would say, again, like you said, it has to be inherited, right? If you're inherited and you have a passion for it, go for it. But if you want to start something, you want to start a bespoke tailoring brand or store, you have to really do something completely different from everyone else. Because how do you differentiate yourself from the leading players in the game? People who've been around for years and years, who've made progression every year, every 10 years, where they introduce something new to take themselves to the next step. you need to have a unique selling point that is unlike anyone else in the game. So joining a industry that is relatively, I wouldn't say plateaued, but quite busy, quite crowded, I would not necessarily recommend that. But if you want to start a clothing line, that's a completely different thing. You can do something completely different and attract a lot more people than you could with tailoring. And tailoring requires a lot of attention to detail, a lot of time, a lot of effort. You really have to have a passion for it. If you don't, it's very difficult to do well.
So tell me, Dane, how do you see the business progressing in the next couple of years? Also, talk to me about the challenges during the COVID era.
Okay, so with COVID, we closed the store for almost 2.5 months. When that happened, we had a discussion, me, Dad, and Grandpa, and we're like, you know what? We can't just sit home and do nothing. We go to work 6 days a week. We leave home at 10 a.m., 9:45, 10 a.m. We come home at 9 p.m., 9:30. So we're gone for the whole day. We can't sit home and literally do nothing. So we went into the store. We took a big suitcase. We packed it up with samples, buttons, fabrics, iPads, as much things we could carry home. And we took over our living room at home. We turned it into a showroom, and we introduced a thing we called virtual consultations, where customers can go to our website, make a booking with us, and we're available from 9 a.m. Bangkok time to 2 a.m. Bangkok time. That way we can appeal to everyone across everywhere in the world. Dad usually does the morning, and I'll do the late because I like to stay up late. We were one of the first tailors in Thailand to introduce that. I can say that. And that turned out to be a very good thing. A lot of people appreciated it. It's actually better when we're on face-to-face call where we can see the client's body and see them being measured in front of us. We can guide their spouse or their friend, whether you're measuring too low or you're measuring too high or your tape measure is crooked, rather than someone sending us an email, be like, okay, these are my measurements. And for the future of the business, retail is something that it's kind of like the waiting game, right? You have to sit there and wait for someone to come in. We never, ever had an issue. We've always been busy. We would sit alone for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then we would be someone walk in the door and 2, 3, 4, 5 people. So we were always consistently busy. And we're blessed to do that. It was all from grandpa and dad's hard work over the years to build that rapport and take us to this level we're at right now. But I've learned something that you can't just sit and wait for someone to walk in. You have to bring you to them. So what we have done before COVID, we started working on our e-commerce website. And during COVID, we pushed real heavy into that. We launched it successfully last month. And we allow people to purchase online 100%, pay online right away. It quotes you your shipping automatically with FedEx plugins.
So how do I get to this website?
rajasfashions.com.
Okay.
Click order, pick whatever you want to order. There's a category full of fabrics you can choose from. And we believe in honesty. We don't want to misguide our friends and our clients. So everything on the website is clear cut. It tells you everything from the origin of the fabric, the composition of the fabric, to the price of the fabric.
Bobby, this short conversation we've had today, I've had a really good time talking to the Gulati family. The Gulati family sort of embodies the values of hard work, because from understanding what Dane has said and from what your dad has taught you, you guys, let's be clear about it. You guys work more than 12 hours a day sometimes. You guys almost always work on weekends. And you're workaholics, really. And that translates to your clients, and it ultimately translates to your products, right? And your clients come back again and again. So tell me a little bit about what the Gulati family is about. The Gulati family is consistently delivering excellent product. What makes this happen? What's the magic?
Well, basically, it's the technicalities involved, the SOPs, as you call it,
Right.
the standard operating procedure.
Right.
We make sure that we follow our guidelines. But the most important thing is passion. All three of us bring something or the other to the table. Like my dad, he's 77 years old. He still comes to work, not because he has to, because he's passionate about it. And even though he's not as mobile, he still sits in the corner and he's like an orchestra composer, and he tells me exactly what needs to be done, even though I already know. But it's great to have that support, and also to have the young generation with me, telling me what's new and bring his own style. But the key is about warmth and love. That's what I always expect and always give, is when you, as a love breeds love among the family, and then among our suppliers. We pay our suppliers on time, our tailors, we respect everybody, and above all, customer is God, customer is king. So we love them and we take care of them like family, and that's the most important thing. When someone has a complaint, we fix it right away, and we fix it the right way.
And integrity is a big part of it all. That's something I learned, which is instilled in me by my grandpa and dad throughout the years. Integrity, honesty, respect. 3 things that money can't buy. And once you lose them, it's very hard to bring them back. And just treating your business, especially in tailoring, you can't really treat it like every other business, because it's not at all. It requires a lot of drive, and you kind of have to be a perfectionist to get a really good product. But that could also be a bad thing, because it makes your life very difficult. As Dad can say, I'm our worst or our toughest client. That's me.
So, Bobby, if I may sort of go in a little bit of a tangent, tell me about your most difficult client. I mean, you don't need to give names, but sort of tell me a little bit of a joke about it.
Well, the most difficult client is someone that doesn't know what they want.
Right.
And you keep trying to make them happy, but they can never be happy. And in my 36 years of experience, I've had maybe a handful. But that's the key, is now probing. That's part of our standard operating procedures, to probe the customer and see what they actually are looking for. And basically, if they're looking for something, they don't know what they're looking for, we can help them. And then they make up their mind then. But we don't try to take anybody's business if they don't know what they're looking for, one.
Right.
And we learn from what we did wrong, and then we move. We're not perfect, but we do our best, and then we look for the next. It's about positivity. That's what my dad, is all about. It's about the warmth, the respect, and everything else follows with it.
Tell me, Dane, where do you see yourself in 5-10 years' time? Where do you see Raja's Passions in 10 years' time? Are you going to grow the business? Are you going to go international? Are you going to go on iOS and Android and multiple apps? Where are we going with this?
So with our in-store app and our website, we're merging the two, and that will be a iOS app right away, or we're working on that. And from then it will translate into an Android app. For me, what I can do is bring it to the world in the best way I know, which is technology. Open another store, I don't believe in that. Because why? We are so successful because of grandfather, because of dad, and hopefully because of me. One of us has to be at every store we open. Without us, we can lose quality, we can lose clients, we can lose respect, we can lose everything. So without us there, we can't really franchise. It's a family-run business, and that's why we are where we are today. Because we don't have salespeople, we don't have people to sell you. Dad, me, and Grandpa, and my Aunt Rupa. So it's four of us working together at the store. We do everything from talking or introducing the client, working with them, guiding them through the process, recommending them styles and fit and quality, measuring them, helping them with the fitting, and delivering the final piece. So we do everything. We do have staff who help us cut the fabrics, fold the fabrics, organize stuff. But when it comes to dealing with the client, it's all family. And that is why I don't believe Rajas can do a store without one of us there. But I do have a plan in mind of kind of branching out a little bit, but I do not want to speak too much about it just because that is something that I really need to work full on hard in. And once I have a proper, I do have a vision, but once I get to a certain level, then I can talk a little bit more about it.
Okay, tell me a little bit about, we're called the WTF show. Do you have a WTF moment that you want to talk about? Maybe change the way you did things or the way you thought?
So, I got accepted to the University of Miami, and that obviously as a guy, it's kind of a dream come true. And not every father is going to decide to send his son to Miami. And that's something I'm very grateful for. It's not the, I guess, the easiest place to go to school, because there's a lot of distractions, and there's not a lot of kind of community within, like, the Indian community in Miami, Florida. So it's something that, you know, my family was not necessarily hesitant about, but they were slightly concerned about. And Dad told me, you know, he said, you know what? You can have a 6-month party, or you can have a 4-year party, right? And what he meant by that is that you can either go crazy for 6 months, or you study hard for 4 years and you can go crazy, not consistently, but spread out over 4 years and give yourself more opportunity to have fun and grow as a person. So I said, you know what? I always took that lightly. I was like, you know, if you know, I'm good. I can spend 4 years there. I won't do bad. And my first 6 months there was, you know, I was exposed to a lot of freedom, and I went not crazy, but I had a lot of fun. I kind of got distracted. I got sidetracked, and it got to a point that my academics were really affected by it. And the school told me, he's like, you know what? If you don't step it up, you're not coming back. And I told my dad that, and he was like, you know what? You're coming back home. I'm not paying for this. So I packed my bags. This was at the end of the year, my first year. And no, my first semester, sorry. I packed my bags, brought it back, and then I kind of made up my mind, like, you know, I messed up my opportunity, and I don't know what I can do now, because Dad said I'm not going back. And he was truly, he put his foot down. He's like, it's not happening. But then Grandpa told my dad, give him another shot and see what happens. And from that day, I never looked back. You know, I worked my ass off. Sorry, I don't know if we can swear in this podcast, but I worked my behind off and tried to pay back my grandfather's trust in me. My dad did trust in me, but he felt kind of disappointed that I did not give my 110% from day one, and kind of threw away 6 months down the drain. But I worked really, really hard, and every semester I kept getting better and better and better. And funny thing is, every year I would move further away from campus, which Dad told me, you know what? If you could barely go to class your freshman year where you lived on campus, how do you expect yourself to go to class when you're downtown 30 minutes away? I said, you know what, Dad? I thought, or the vision in my head before I moved downtown was, if I'm in downtown, I'm going to wake up, see people in suits and briefcases going to work every morning, coming back from work. They're doing what they have to do. It's going to motivate me to do what I have to do. My senior year had my best attendance when I lived the furthest away from school, and I got my highest GPA. Every semester kept getting better and better, and my final semester was the best semester yet. So it's something that I am very thankful for, that I was given a second opportunity, a second shot, and I just never looked back from that. So that was my pivot in my life, where I learned to kind of become a better listener, and kind of, not necessarily my ego, but kind of put everything aside for a second and kind of reevaluate where I'm at and what people have done for me, especially my family, and what they've invested in me, that I can't really just, abuse that and throw it out the window for no reason.
So, Bobby Gulati, this is truly an amazing experience for me. I get to host the best show in the world with the best people in the world. Bobby, I just want you to help a little bit with our audience out there. So, young people, sort of a little disillusioned with the world, and to be frank, a little bit depressed. Let's go there a little bit, before we end the show. What advice can you give young people? You've obviously brought up your son very well. What advice can you give young people who are a little bit lost about what they want to do for their future?
Well, that's, again, I'm going to go back to my values. We grew up from a very warm, big family, and there was love everywhere. So as I always tell Dane and my kids, love breeds love. Respect breeds respect. So that's, that's the pivot of life. And the key is, if you have love, you have support, you will do very well. And that's what's all about.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Bobby, just tell you, we at the WTF show need 2 favors. We need you to recommend us somebody else for the WTF show at another time. And we also request you to both nominate and vote for Youth of the Year 2021, aged between 20 and 30, and hopefully come to our WTF ball next year. I'm going to give both of you the last word. So a little bit of advice and a little bit of maybe some spiritualism on it. Dane, we go to you first.
So going back to what Dad said about, advice for someone who's going through a tough time in their life, I really believe that the time for mental health awareness is right now. I strongly believe in this cause because I've seen it happen firsthand with my friends and people I know abroad as well as locally here. There's a lot of people saying, you know what, you should do this, you should do that. But if you do not open up to others, you do not voice your concerns, you have to make others aware of where your head's at, right? You have to ask for help. That's the number one thing. A lot of people go through something, they will kind of put themselves in a corner and not want to, talk to someone about it because they're scared how will people view them. And in a community where image and reputation is so prominent, it's very hard for someone to kind of give that private life or that aspect of them out to the public. I'm not saying do it to the public, talk to your family. Number two is everyone, whether you're going through it or not, whether you're a father, a brother, a mother, a aunt, an uncle, whatever you are, you have to be receptive. You have to acknowledge that this is a real problem in life. A lot of people are kind of, you have everything in life. It's not a big deal. You're just going through a phase. It's not necessarily a phase. Sometimes it is a phase, but it's not necessarily a phase. So you cannot treat everything lightly, even though it's a small and a very amateur panic attack or whatever it is. It's something that you have to kind of treat everything like it's a serious issue, and you have to be receptive. That's the most important thing, I think. So be receptive, communicate, voice your thoughts and your opinions, and just try your best to stay positive. That's the only way you can keep going forward, I believe.
Excellent advice. Last word to you, Mr. Bobby Gulati.
Yeah, I think in life for the youngsters, you need to develop good mentors. You need to surround yourself with 4 or 5 good mentors who can communicate with you at any time, 24/7, who are there for you. And I think that's one thing that the kids have a little bit weak on this. They're very, very big on technology. They are basically illusioned with Facebook and Snapchat and all that, and with all the likes and all the photos and the beauty. They have to look for inner beauty among people.
It's all materialistic,
Yeah. I think it's like I myself, all my life, have surrounded myself with 5 to 7 mentors who I know exactly who to call when I have a issue. If I have a real estate issue, I will call the real estate advisor. Lawyers, I will call the lawyer. Life, I always talk to my father. He is the best advisor in the world. And it's all about having good advisors. And those will usually come with people who have good gut feelings. And having a good gut feeling usually happens after you turn 40. So it's a total experience of what all you had in your life. And you can share it with your youngsters. So that's my thing is, if anybody comes to me for advice, it's free. And I will give the right advice. I may not be technologically sound, but wisdom comes from someone who's had a lot of experience. So I would recommend to surround yourself with good mentors, because a good mentor will give you $1 million advice for $1. And an expensive consultant will give you a $1 advice for $1 million. So I would say that.
It's truly an honor for me today to host the Gulati family. Thank you again for joining us, and hope to see you WTFers next week. Goodbye.
Thank you, Vimol.
Have a good one.
That's it from the WTF Show. Vimol and the team from WTF Show would like to thank all our sponsors. Tune in next week for another great gig with people making a difference to your future. For advertising spots, go to the WTF Show IG page and get more info, or contact Vimol at 6681-616-5987.